All right, Raj, very good to see you again. The last time we had a good chat about the budget, and you shared with me some of the concerns that you and people like yourselves have about the future. Perhaps you might want to elaborate.
I think from volunteering and some community work, I do see this increased focus on supporting, trying to raise up these vulnerable groups, people who fall through the cracks, disadvantaged communities adversely affected by the pandemic, for example. So one thing I think it's been talked about is digital divide.
Yes.
Especially in education. Another one would be social support for the vulnerable. I know the government has been doing quite a bit. I'm actually looking forward to hear more in terms of what we're going to do going forward, whether it's going to be sustainable.
Those are important observations and suggestions. It's also a very important area of concern for us because we want everyone to experience the fruits of Singapore's progress and no one should be left behind. And that's why we, for example, have made some moves to uplift the incomes of lower wage workers. And we will be sharing more details in the budget on how we intend to go about doing that, uplifting the incomes of lower wage workers. And also providing more support for lower income and vulnerable families, addressing areas like you talk about, whether or not they're able to afford digital devices, or even other important areas of needs that they may have. Besides addressing inequality issues, we are also focused on mobility. So it's not just about uplifting the lower income, but it's also about ensuring that everyone has equal access to equal opportunities to do well and to fulfill their potential. And that's why another important emphasis is on investing in preschool, making sure every child has a good start in life, regardless of their family backgrounds, and continuing to invest in our young people across the board.
I think it's very important to invest early when it comes to education. It's something I also push for in my capacity. Social mobility, educational opportunities are very important, especially when you go into the workforce, when you try to develop lifelong learning. Is also based on the foundation you set. So I think that's great to hear as well.
So we will continue with all of these efforts. In many of these things, it's very hard for the government alone to do because it's not simply a matter of financial transfers. It's also about addressing attitudes, mindsets, and bridging some of these last mile concerns. And that's why we often work very closely with community groups and volunteer groups. You mentioned that you had been involved in volunteering. I'm sure you would have experienced some of these partnerships where the government agencies work closely with community groups, and together we combine our efforts in order to engage and reach out to all these families in need. And we hope we certainly will want to redouble our efforts in this area.